kinds of personalities.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so on new challenges. And so we have that kind of personality that is very often strong-willed, describing some other types of personality types. And then another scope of personality, this person will be seen as a choleric personality type. And so that's one aspect of it. And then you have people who are a little laid back. In one context, this is the sanguine or the phlegmatic
Mm.
personality that really doesn't care what they something happens, but they just go along with the trend.
Right.
Uh, and so there are different kinds of people described in this book in
Okay.
terms of how they function within an organization.
Right. Could you continue on along that line and express a few more of the leadership styles? Like, I see we have backpackers, caretakers. You just mentioned the pioneers. Could you give us a breakdown of a few of the other leadership styles?
Right. So the backpackers are the person who are prepared for the journey. Basically, you have equipped yourself with all the tools that you need for a particular exercise.
Mm-hmm.
So, for example, we are here in St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and
Mm-hmm.
we came by a small speedboat from Kingstown,
Mm-hmm.
and so we had to have a life vest on us.
Yes.
Um, and then we had to have the power washers
Right.
that were in on spot, the hoses, the water supply,
Right.
all the cleaning supplies, brooms, shovels, and all the equipment that were necessary. So in that sense, we represent backpackers in that context today.
Oh,
So
okay.
your pack is the contents of your pack um, will determine the kind of work that you're doing. For example, if you're going to develop a leadership seminar, you would have, in most cases now, your PowerPoint
Mm-hmm.
projectors or
Mm-hmm.
your online program that would help you to have an excellent presentation. No longer are you scribbling on piece of paper trying to find your notes, but the preparation is 90% of the task really. So if you're doing a leadership seminar, you're doing all the preparatory work, your room, the temperature of your room, the materials, all your books are printed up,
Right.
your sound system is working. That becomes part of your pack,
Mm-hmm.
your backpack, as it were. So that's one kind of person that is always prepared.
Right.
It is used as a slogan, be prepared. And so all of your tools are in that pack. You could imagine that if you're planning to do a project and when you open your backpack, nothing is in it that relates to your job, you're in
Right.
big trouble.
Right.
You're
Yes.
in big trouble, yes.
Yes. Mm-hmm.
Great.
Yes.
Uh,
Okay. Yeah. Right. So we have the backpackers, the caretakers, and all of these are leadership styles. As you approach a project or
right.
so, you're learning
Yeah,
along the way, and you're also leading. Yes.
absolutely. So you cannot lead without being constantly on the learning curve. So the
Right.
caretakers, and you need these people on your team. These are people that are very detailed in what to do. They write down everything that needs to be planned out for a mission. What time are you leaving? What time are you getting there? What is the mode of transportation?
Right.
Just using this as an illustration because of what we're involved in right now. So
Okay.
the caretaker makes sure that you have all the details. You know you're going from point A to point B,
Mm-hmm.
how much time it's going to take you from A to B or to C, as the case may be, and that they are very meticulous
Right.
and very detailed. And every company, every organization, every church, religious groups need to have that kind of person
Right.
as part of their team as well.
Right. It adds to the dynamic of the team, and somebody might see something that one may not see, so it's important to have these different type of personalities. Does each type of personality have a specific role that you might want to put them in?
Of course, because we bring together a team of people
Right.
having examined and having examination and assessment is the better word
Right.
of what is their personality,
Mm-hmm.
what are their strengths, and what are their weaknesses. So when you build team, because leadership and team building go hand in hand, we are not just arbitrarily building a team, or we allow people just to volunteer to serve, especially on your leadership team.
Yes.
Because what you could have is a team of people with the same kind of personality, and you could be in real trouble.
Right.
Because if you have a team of all choleric people, you're going to be
Mm-hmm.
walking over one another.
Mm-hmm.
Who's the boss here?
Yeah.
Who's in
Yeah.
charge here? Everybody is the boss. If you have everybody who is the phlegmatic, nothing gets done.
Right.
We're waiting till the sun shines or when it gets dark
Yes.
before anything gets started. And then you have the other personality that is the melancholy.
Right.
That is the detailed person. This is the organizer. This is the manager.
Right.
This is the one who makes sure that you take the big vision
Mm-hmm.
and you break it down into bite-sized pieces
Right.
and you delegate authority to the people that have the ability to function in this particular field of work. We cannot take inexperienced, unqualified,
Mm-hmm.
unmotivated people
Right.
and have them in leadership roles.
Mm-hmm.
It just creates so much confusion and chaos in your leadership team.
Right. So it's important to put the right person in the right place that, because we know that they accentuate their strengths. Once you accentuate their strengths, they will thrive, the group, the project will succeed. Yes?
Absolutely. So we're talking here about creating a transformational team.
Right.
Now, we must make the distinction between what is a transformational team and what is a transactional team.
Mm-hmm.
A transactional team is that you get paid for on exchange for what you do. So I do something for you, I get something in return for it. And so it's an exchange style of leadership. The transformational leader takes charge of the situation and they look at the general broad picture of your organization, your church, your government, your nation as a whole. And so this is how we want our organization to look in the next 5 years.
Right.
Transformation may not be immediate
Mm-hmm.
because there are some deep-seated problems, deep-seated issues within churches and companies and organizations that are just sort of forgotten or just imagined they do not exist. And that's why we are not fruitful or productive, depending on the environment of our work and the ability to move our organization forward.
Right, definitely. So a transformational leader recognizes all the needs of his followers and so forth, and seek to bring them to a higher level of maturity, right? As you were just alluding to.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yes.
Right. So we know that you're across in St. Vincent and the demand is maybe high and you're a busy person. So we're not going to take too long today in today's discussion on Leadership Plus. I think we've basically covered what the primary, points of Rookie Smarts. I keep saying plus.
Yes, okay, that's fine. Yes, yes.
Right. So at this point, I'm going to play a video that you would have forwarded to us earlier today, so that the people that are streaming on YouTube Live and Facebook platforms can see a little video of you. So I'm going to do that right now.
Thank you.
This is John Lewis from the Grenada Institute for Theological Education. We're here with a team from the Grenada Institute for Theological Education, a team of 12 persons working in St. Vincent over the next days, helping with the recovery work. We are examining the impact of the Supreme eruption. And as you notice here, you've seen the impact right on the ground here. These used to be forested areas, but this is now flattened out because of the lava, due to the impact of all the stones and the dust that has come inside here, the ash, and the change of the whole environment, the destruction of the waves around here, and the different aspects of the damage, the vegetation of this community. So we ask you to pray for St. Vincent and the Grenadines, and we thank God for bringing us here to conserve the people during this disaster. Thank you, and God bless you.
All right. So that was a short clip of what's happening on ground right now with Reverend John Lewis. Could you further enlighten us on what's happening, what's the team positioned, and so forth?
Thank you so much. So we are in this northern part of the island, those of you who are familiar with St. Vincent and the Grenadines. And even as I do this program, looking out at the volcano, looking at the clouds. It's very cloudy today over the Lasso Mountain area. We're getting a little drizzle on the ground at this moment.
Okay.
But our teams are in 4 different locations in this particular part of the island. Those of you who know the Rose Hall area and the Chumuka area in St. Vincent, they are in different churches. And the important thing to note here is that we are working with all religious groupings and denominations. So we involved with the Methodist churches, the Anglican churches, the Pentecostal churches. We're involved in the community projects as well. And there's some private homes of the elderly. They can't help themselves. So our team would go in and do those works. Our day begins very early in the morning, 7 o'clock. And we come by boat from Kingstown, St. Vincent to Chateaubelair, which is quite an experience for our guys. And sometimes, Abigail, we joke around a little bit on the boat, and we said, all these guys are great swimmers,
Right.
except they are like fish out of water.
Okay.
Right. So some of the work that we do, you may be able to share some pictures, but some
Yes,
of the work...
I'm actually sharing some of the pictures as we speak. Yeah.
Yeah, thank you. It's a lot of hard work. It is in one particular church in the Fitzhughes area.
Yeah.
There were ash up in the entire church building, about 3 to 4 feet high.
Wow, that's a lot.
And so there were guys power washing. At least they had to move by shovels and wheelbarrows, clean out all the ash, and then we put in the power washers. And so they're all working in those kinds of work. We are at the Methodist Church there right now in Chateaubelair.
Okay.
We coupled with some of our team members from Logos Hope. And so they're mopping up and trying to tidy up some of the work from yesterday.
Right.
And then some guys are near to the hospital area here in Chateaubelair. And so they're investing their time and effort just to bring back some normalcy. Churches have been locked down here since, even COVID, but after the volcanic eruption, so the churches in this particular area
Right.
have not been able to reopen. So we trust as a result of our work and involvement and ministry that they can open very soon as well.
So how are the brethren? Are they in high spirits, or are they excited to get additional help?
Oh man, they are elated because without this kind of support, it would take much more effort because of our friends who provided equipment for this work, particular power washers that they're able to provide for the work within the island.
Yeah.
Because this is just one area of the country, of the island, and they will move the equipment around and help other churches, like in the other side of the island, of this mountain, Sander Bay, Georgetown, later on, I'm sure, into places like Oya and Fancy. But people are still in shelters. So part of our team is subdivided in going out to the shelters as well.
Right.
So while part of our team comes to this manual work, and they are exchanged out every day. So we are participating in different activities. So they're going into these centers, they're going into these shelters, and bringing hope to them. And of course, this is Hope FM, and we bring in the gospel of hope. So people have been traumatized. I remember one of the little children asked his parents, he says, "Are we going to sleep in school? We don't normally sleep in school. We go home after school."
Right.
So children are traumatized having to live in these shelters that are really not prepared for sleeping and living accommodation. Basically, it's a wide open building, and people put up all kinds of sheets and try to make some privacy. But of course, it's not the same as your private home.
No.
That you're a little bit more comfortable. But some of these homes are still heavily on the ashes. They cannot go back still to live in the red zone, as it were. And so people are getting a little tired
Yes, of course.
of living in these shelters. People are still providing food and water to the shelters. So just to say, Abigail, that we have forgotten St. Vincent in most of the cases because we're not seeing the huge volcanic eruption.
Yeah.
But just to let our listeners know that St. Vincent will take a couple years before it becomes back to normal. We had about 5 crises happening simultaneously in St. Vincent.
Okay.
We had COVID, we had dengue fever,
Yes.
we had the volcanic eruption, we had flooding, and then we had this recent storm that came on right after. And so we lost a lot of house roofs in the same red zone.
Wow.
So it's like about 5 or more crises have, come together, as a matter of fact, and met up with one another at the same time with a small island. So don't forget St. Vincent. Do not think because the news media has left us, because basically that is what has happened.
Right.
There are no reports coming out of St. Vincent.
Okay.
There is no discussion about need for cleanup crews and recovery and rebuilding. So we're still appealing to our listeners. If you can, if you're coming particularly from Grenada, there is no quarantine because thankfully Grenada has no known cases. And so we came into St. Vincent directly to work on the same day because we were not asked to be quarantined. So that's a special privilege to Grenadians that can still come into St. Vincent and work among your denomination, work among your churches, work alongside community projects. But in other parts of the world, you're welcome to give to organizations that are reputable, give to your church denominations, to community work that are involved, because this is a long haul. This is not just, a month or 2 of volcanic eruption and then we forget about it. It's so easy to forget once the news does not keep it in front of our faces. So I just want to encourage you to pray again for St. Vincent. Think like a pioneer, as a pioneer rookie.
Yes.
How you can be creative and inventive in order to get to St. Vincent, whether physically or whether with your donations and gifts to support the country in these crises.
Yes, Reverend, in your approximation, can you tell us how long do you think it will be before they can have maybe a service, a church service? How long does it look?
Right. Well, in the red zone, there's nothing going to happen immediately. Because although we are still cleaning up the church, all the churches' electricity had to be disconnected because they were all covered over in ash. So there's very little water supply in these buildings. So just to say bathrooms are not functional. There is no power. That they have to